Hi, I'm Raquel, a truth seeker with a deep curiosity who lives to question overshared beliefs.
And I'm Christina, an interdisciplinary artist who believes in elevating undershared stories.
And we've saved you a seat at the Bombshell Brunches table.
Join us. Today, we have the great fortune of recording from Vancouver. We are currently on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Squamish, Stolo, and Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam, nations whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. We honor the long history of their caring for the land that we currently work, play, and reside on, and aim to uphold and uplift the voice and values of our host nations. Just FYI, land acknowledgements have been an Indigenous tradition dating back centuries as a way to show respect for the land that we're on. They give us an opportunity to reflect on the impacts of colonialism, reminding us that we need to be accountable to the Indigenous peoples and to thank those who still live on and care for this land. So, with that said, it is another Tuesday, and we have Madeline with us in studio, visual podcast in real life. We're very excited about our visual podcasts. So, and very excited that you're joining us today with such a wealth of knowledge and a great connection from a dear friend, Jen Wint.
Amazing.
Thank you, Jen.
Love Jen.
Jen is just the great connector and a wonderful human being. So thank you to Jen. Thank you for joining us. This was an interview that was in, I think, the back of your mind for a few years.
Yeah.
And
you don't know because I didn't actually reach out, but for the last couple of years, at least a couple of years,
we've talked about it.
I've been wanting to have you on the podcast. At the time, I think you were doing quite a bit with Lunapads.
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing quite a bit of work with period advocacy.
And then
Then I was in Tanzania doing with period advocacy there. And so there was just so many commonalities, but we didn't have the right spot. And then this season came up, and it was just like so
serendipity.
And even the work that you're doing now, it's just dovetailed so perfectly in. So it's very exciting.
Well, we actually have also really just introduced a book club, which we love.
Oh, amazing.
And we have guests now that have written books. And I'm so excited. We're going to get to this. Soon. It's beautiful. I love the feel of this book.
Does it feel good?
It feels great.
What is that? That's like a velvety feel.
It's like that what is it? Don't tell me the ASMR.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Oh, that's not good. That wasn't a good one.
I do like. I'm not gonna.
I hadn't appreciated that about the book. I'm more of a color person, and so yeah.
Okay, we both work. But we're going to talk to you today. We want to focus on social entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Something we're both really passionate about and exploring.
Yeah.
And your book, The Greater Good: Social Entrepreneurship for Everyday People Who Want to Change the World.
It's like so serendipitous with our season, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
We just did a rebrand, and it's all about people who feel they were here for more and who are ready to change the world, whether those are tiny ways or big ways.
Yeah.
Such a good mix today.
So
Let's go.
So I would love to know what led you to into social entrepreneurship. What brought you there? Like, what's your origins?
Yeah.
To get here.
Thank you. I love that question. And we're going back some time here. So I started my first venture in 1993. And really, as with many social entrepreneurs, it was something that was driven by kind of a passionate personal interest. So social entrepreneurs are not people who typically show up and say, I've got a great idea for making lots of money, or I see a big gap in the market that I'm going to exploit, or that's not where they're coming from. They tend to come from other places and where they may not even necessarily identify with the idea of being an entrepreneur or a business person. And so there's this process of kind of transformation. And so my pedigree is as a social change activist. So in university, I discovered feminism, and suddenly the world made made sense. And I decided to start my own business after I was having some problems using conventional disposable pads and tampons. And you need to remember, this is back in the day when nobody had ever heard of anything other than Tampax and Playtex and Always. Like, there was no, like, oh my goodness, like menstrual cups weren't even a thing, particularly. Period underwear were as yet unheard of, and so on. And so I became interested in and actually kind of fell in love with making reusable menstrual products. So I started making period underwear. I was making cloth pads. I was working with other people making menstrual cups. And for me, the idea, it was incredibly transgressive at the time. Like, people just thought I was weird. But what it had done for me was kind of solved a lot of problems on a practical level, because I was having terrible allergic reactions to traditional disposables.
I was going to ask why.
Whoa,
Yeah.
it's so bad. And I mean, I was 25 years old, and, you know, you can't live like that. Like, you're having your period all the time. Come on, you know? And I didn't have an IUD, and I didn't like it was real. And so there was this real pain point. But what I discovered in making the products is that it transformed the relationship I had with my body. So I didn't really realize that I had been carrying around a lot of shame around my period and around how I related. Like, it was just a mess that needed to be cleaned up. I was just shoving a tampon and keep on going, because that's the way you did life. And this is in the 1980s, and everybody's hustling and, you know, whatever. And that felt like, to have that form of control actually felt quasi-empowering to me at the time. But when I stopped doing it and actually kind of went inward and paid attention to what was happening with my body and watching these products, doing this like super taboo thing, like, you don't touch this,
You don't
look at
it.
Yeah. And it's like, this is what my body, it's just what it's doing, and it's okay. In fact, it's amazing. And it just really, it was like a light bulb went on, and my heart busted open, and I was like, this is actually a really special, amazing, important part of someone's life, and that's part of mine. And I just felt better, like, across the board. Like, it wasn't just about feeling better when I had my period. I just felt better. I felt, you know, just more at home in my body. And so that led me to commercialize the products as a way of seeing, you know, might that be true for you?
Yes.
Might that be true for anybody else who menstruates?
I share this experience with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier today about finding the others.
Yeah.
And I just love that phrase so much. And I think it's so important when, I love that you say your heart busted open with something that helped you to just be different, be more you. And I love that process of discovering, whether it be through pain or trauma or some combination or epiphany, something that needs change in yourself.
Yeah.
And then allowing enough for you to be able to sustainably take that step into finding the others that it could impact. And that could be a small group of people, or it could be a huge commercial venture.
Yeah.
Yours was the latter, right?
Well, I mean, yes, it was a small business, and ultimately became a larger business over time. And I met my business partner in 1999, and we grew the company together for many, many years. And then we actually just sold the company and exited in the
Congratulations.
last year.
I think who took it over? Because I feel like
It was Isle, right?
It was. It rebranded as Isle in 2020, and then the company was purchased last year by a local menstrual pain management company called Some Days.
Oh, interesting.
I think I saw an ad on Instagram, completely, well, I don't know how
Unrelated.
but I feel like that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's been a process of liberation, and just and then learning the tools of entrepreneurship, because that's not where I started, right? I didn't go to business school. I didn't know anything, and but to me, like, making and selling the products was the way in to help people experience this form of liberation that I had experienced.
So what happens if we have a lot of listeners that are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in the making,
In waiting.
I could creatrepreneurs, creative thinkers, waiting to take that step. What, if someone's not sure, and someone's in a 9-to-5 job. Someone's in, they're on their rails.
Or they're in school.
Or they're not. You're not sure where you want to live. What are some traits? Like, what are some personality traits of being entrepreneurial? Because, like you said, you didn't go to business school necessarily for this.
Yeah.
What special skills and what personality traits would you say are entrepreneurial? You would look at someone and go, yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah. I absolutely. And I am actually pretty good at sort of spotting. I work with students now. I actually work for Simon Fraser University for the Charles Chang Institute for Entrepreneurship. And I specialize in mentoring student entrepreneurs.
Good.
Yeah. So I love them. Absolutely. Yeah, because I guess the things that I look for, aside from the idea, so there's got to be some form of an idea for a venture, or even just a feeling. Like, it doesn't need to be a full-fledged plan, but that kind of that yes moment or that story, that is really, really important. But in terms of raw skill, it's things like resilience, creativity, and definitely some form of out of the box, like outside of the lines thinking, because you cannot. Yeah, you're not in it just to do it the same old way. Like, the point is to do something different that doesn't exist because there is a problem that needs to be solved, right? If there was already a solution, then we wouldn't have that problem and everything would be fine. But this is why we need social entrepreneurs, to find these creative ways of solving problems. But what makes it difficult is that on top of, and this is why you need the resilience and the grit, is because on top of having to do every single other thing that you need to build any kind of venture, even at the right time, the right product, the right people, the right everything, boom, 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 checklist, complete. You got to do all that, and you've got to do it to achieve whatever this mission is. So if you're up against something like climate change or gender-based violence or PFAS chemicals or something, like, these are big problems. Like, I mean, it does drill down to a personal community-based thing, but it's like, it's a big thing. Like, you got to put on your superhero cape here and be prepared to dig in well beyond what it takes for, let's call it, an ordinary business, which is in and of itself extremely difficult. Yeah.
I think what is really interesting about that is there are not roadways already created. So by being interested in social entrepreneurship, what I'm hearing is you're doing something different. You're trying to create a change. And by way of that, there's not already a path paved for you. And so you have to be, I can definitely see how you would have to be resilient. Can definitely see how you would have to be creative. But I think that piece that you said about being willing to color outside of the lines, being willing to do what is maybe not always accepted by the norm, is a really, I can see how that would be a huge piece of that.
I was thinking about your career and your specialization in behavior change, because as you were speaking, one of my biggest light bulbs there was you're trying to make a huge change. You know that this change needs to happen, but you're also up against mass behavior. So you're up against people having extraordinary decision fatigue. Going, I mean, and I will admit to this, it's just easier to use a tampon. I don't have time to learn how to use a Diva Cup. I don't have time to, I don't know which product. And then there's so many products. I mean, Lunapads probably not at the time, but there are so many things I have to do to change my behavior on a daily basis that I don't know that I'm going to do.
So you're like, what will ignite your change?
Yeah, exactly. So now on top of being this social entrepreneur that's like, this is better for you, you should stop using Teflon. You don't have, oh my gosh. What is that? He's doing it. In a town. Wow. Who knows? I mean, what was that impact study? I don't have the research, but they're finding things. They're finding these chemicals. But, to make that change, you have to now, on top of that, also be an advocate for this massive other very toxic problem and run your business.
Well, and that's why for social entrepreneurs, this central moment, this love, this passion, this story and the impact is what drives us, right? Because if it was just like, I don't know, if it wasn't personal,
Yeah.
right? If you didn't have a stake in it that was deeply emotional, like running a company of any size, starting a company, entering an industry, innovating, whatever, is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's so hard. And so that, to me, this grit and persistence is driven, that's required to build a venture, is what's fueled by the passion for whatever the impact is that you want to have, your mission.
Yeah. And so it's that reverse engineering. I think I was reading on your website. I wish I could have read your book before the podcast, but
I do another one.
yeah, I did read summaries of the book. And I think, you were talking about the book having access to ways to find your values, ways to find your story, ways to understand. So it's almost, maybe in a regular business, you would say, okay, here's this need, I'm going to fill the need. Whereas in a social entrepreneurship kind of company, you're more going inwards and then you're reverse engineering. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of doing like a market research survey or something like that, you're actually mining your personal experience and perhaps something, that's happened to someone you love as well. It's not just a purely personal. I've seen many, many cases that have been absolutely driven by love for another person, whether that's a parent for a child or from siblings or whatever, where, anyways, there's a challenge there and you see a way to address it and you take it on. And so, yeah, it's far less linear. But what is amazingly potent about doing that, when you do that inner work of understanding what the values are, why you're doing it, the Simon Sinek's famous why. It's so potent because that is one of the biggest tools in business, is telling stories, right? You need to be able to say, who are you and why are you doing this and why should they care, right?
Yeah.
And that transcends anything about, well, it's better for your health, you shouldn't use those tampons. And it's, you do know how many trees are being cut down. And it's like, no. This is about your relationship with you. This is a form of self-care. You may not have ever thought about it that way before. But I'm going to tell you a story that's going to, help you come to that consciousness, right? And so I think that's what the true task of the social entrepreneur is, to tap into that vision and articulate it to others, whether you're getting up and pitching investors or whether you're doing marketing or you're blogging or you're on, social media or whatever. You've got to kind of hit an emotional frequency with whoever you're talking to. And that is the magic, because you get someone else to see what you see and to find themselves emotionally in it.
People connect with people and people connect with stories.
Yeah.
Not necessarily data or knowledge even.
Yeah.
Right? We see that a lot, that there's a huge knowledge intention gap where, people can know a lot about a lot of things and still not act on it because there's so many other barriers in between. I think this is so interesting, and it just makes me wonder. I have my own thoughts on this, but I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you feel like the world is ready for social-based companies? And I don't even want to just say social entrepreneurship, because I think that's almost like the budding of. But I want to say like social-driven companies, because I think, and I guess I mean this question more on a mass scale, rather than a community scale, because I do feel like we're seeing a bit of a shift. But yeah, do you think the world, or North America specifically, is ready to see some B Corp, some social-led companies?
Yeah, I absolutely do, because I mean, I think, it's a given. We all want the world to be a better place, right? Yeah. We all want climate change to be solved, and we all want a better future for our kids, and we all want to breathe clean air and drink clean water and, not wear clothes soaked with chemicals. And like, people all want those things.
I thought you were going to stop with not wear clothes, and I was like,
Yeah, save a lot of money. You can sell nakedness. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's an interesting business model. I'm just like, wow, here it is. Could call the Emperor Company, you know.
Oh, that.
It's so good. Yeah. So I do think that people want to do, quote, the right thing as consumers, because we all need to buy stuff, right? Like there's no way around that. But the question is, how do we make those choices when, to your point, I'm so busy, I need something that's easy, I need something that's fast, I'm stressed, I've got too many choices. Like, I get it. And that's why things like B Corp are really useful. So B Corp is a certification body that tests very rigorously, for-profit companies for a full spectrum analysis of all their impacts, or social, environmental, human rights, labor standards, everything. So
So they can't just be one. They have to kind of go across the gamut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't just be sort of bad in one way, or like you can't just excuse it of sort of like, okay, I'm gonna go and do this super polluting extractive thing, but I'm donating, you know, $1 million to something.
Companies that say they're values based, but then, you know, aren't holding up in all the
But buying credibility a lot of the time, right? A lot of these companies trying to buy credibility.
Sure. And I guess to that, I would say, I mean, it's super complicated. Like, supply chains are opaque, and some people want it that way, and for other people, it just is. Like, we don't truly know where all of our ingredients come from, or where they're made, or what the labor standards are where they're made. And, you know, even for those manufacturing companies don't necessarily do a rigorous supply chain analysis. And if they do, how do you know that, and so on. So B Corp is a good place to look, but there are so many amazing groups. I was just on Instagram looking at Remake. It's an organization, Remake Our Times, on Instagram, that is all about human rights and getting rid of toxic chemicals in the garment industry.
So repeat the name.
It's Remake Our World.
Remake Our World.
And they are powerful and smart, and they're grassroots, and they've got, you know, just they're hilarious. Like, and they're very funny, but they take on like huge class action lawsuits on behalf of garment workers, and lobby for chemical testing around PFAS, and encourage people to buy secondhand clothing and that type of thing. And they're smart as everything. Like, I just love them. So anyways, Remake, thank you for the work that you're doing. And of course, B Corp. But I don't know, I feel like it can be as simple as going to the About Us page on someone's website. Like, if they don't have one of those, if they don't want you to see who their leadership team is, how to get in touch with them, you know, what's going on, like this sense of relationship. I think that I always look for that. And, you know, Main Street stores over big box, and, you know, a lot of it's really common sense. But I don't think there's any perfect solution. I think anybody who thinks that they've managed to figure that all out is kind of kidding themselves. And we're starting from, we're not playing with a full deck in terms of perfection. It's just not possible. So I think go with those, is it 5 R's we have now? Like just start by reducing. Like, do I even need to buy this thing? Can I buy it locally? How, you know, or make a trade-off. It's like, okay, I'm going to buy it from whatever, but I don't know. You got to think about transportation. You got to think about packaging. You got to think about all of these other things. So sometimes there's trade-offs. So I do not pretend to have all of those answers, but I know what I look for in terms of just, you know, if you can buy something at a farmer's market, like, come on, buy it at the farmer's market, you know, and that type of proximity, authenticity. And then if people are clearly doing the work around certification, if they're looking into animal testing, if they're looking into PFAS testing, and they're
third-party testing, I think is another big thing.
I would, totally agree with you. But again, it's an imperfect science, and just beware. But I think just think about it, you know.
Yeah, and I think also keeping in mind that we're still playing with all the old systems. So, you know, creating things that are healthier sometimes costs more money. It's maybe not as much.
Not everybody likes that.
Yeah, well, not everybody can afford that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
there's so much to be said for. I have a concept for an app that we've been talking about building together.
Don't say that, because I'm trying to keep my mouth shut.
Let's have a follow-up meeting.
Yes.
But I think what's interesting is we all want, I think you're right, we all want to do this. Some of us, but I can only speak for myself. I can get very overwhelmed by the amount of weight and responsibility to be a good citizen, to be conscious, to be a good human, to to support my family, my community, and my neighborhood, and my industry, and my province, and the country. And the number of requests I know I've gotten in from the creative industries, just from putting your hand up to say, okay, I think I should do something about this. How quickly it turns into the community or people who can turn around and say, you're not doing enough. As soon as you put your hand up, as soon as you go out there, and this has caused me in some ways to retract, or to go to Raquel and just be like, I am completely...
It's like the pedestal effect. You're put on a pedestal, and if you do anything that people think you shouldn't have, or they don't agree with, and you're knocked.
And all of a sudden, it's you've started Lunapads, you started Nestworks, you've created these things, and someone turns around and goes, let me tell you about how you're not doing that properly. How would you help? And this is again asking for a friend. How would you address that with somebody and say, look, how do you sustain through that?
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, there needs to be that balance of self-care while we're at it, trying to save the world. Like, you're not going to save the world. Come on. And if you're not okay, then you're not going to be okay to help anybody else. And I think there can be that climate of, like, as I said, put on your cape. Well, what if I don't feel like putting on my cape today? What if I'm burnt out? What if I'm tired? Yeah. And what if if it's all I can do today to make lunch for my kid and get a load of laundry in and answer my emails? And, I get that. And I think, there just needs to be a sense of balance. And also, to me, one more really key entrepreneurial trait that doesn't make it into most business books, but is certainly in this one, is knowing how to ask for help. Right? Like, so there's a good, very knowing. Yeah, I heard the mms there. Like, it really is. I think there's a very prevalent myth out there that, especially for women, that you're supposed to not only do every other darn thing, but if you're an entrepreneur, you're supposed to, what, you didn't build the website yourself? Like, wait a minute, you didn't learn how to code to do that? You didn't install your own, whatever. It's like, no. Like, there's only so much, frankly, that we're all good at or superb at, and we need to be able to just let ourselves off the hook for the things that we're not that good at. Ask for help for the things that really matter, where it's like, hey, I had a business partner for 25 years who was a chartered accountant. And there's a reason for that, guys. What do you think? What is that? If you had to really, I'll give you a minute to wonder about why that might have been. And, it's that type of thing where you look at yourself realistically and are like, okay, I'm not going to try and do that. And so that's one less thing to beat myself up for not doing well. Yeah. So I'm taking it off the list because it's not where I'm at. And so that's part of the entrepreneurial genius, in a way, is understanding what your limitations are and being, and this is so important, unashamed to go out and say, hey,
yeah,
I really need a finance person to work with me. I really need a marketing person to work with me. I don't have all the ideas. I don't have all the time. I don't have all the energy. And that, to link it back to one more thing, is why that story that you can tell about why you're doing what you're doing is going to help you find that person, because they're going to care too. And they're going to want to come on board, and they're going to want to, take you on as a client, or go into business with you, or fund your business, or whatever it is, because they see that you have a realistic understanding of what you're capable of, and also why it matters, and how they can be part of the thing, the impact, because that's not about you. That's about whatever that beautiful vision is.
I have a dig-in question for that, because I often think when I have an idea in my band and for my music, one of my friends, Sam, says, you get recruited into the Christina.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's not a cult.
It's a nice cult.
Yeah, it's the kindest cult you'll ever find. Maybe that's
but
not.
you can't leave ever.
But she says, like Christina will say, like, hey, we've got like 30 minutes, and all of a sudden you're now like a business partner.
Right.
That's what you say I did.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, that's where I learned it from, just to be really clear. But one thing I would love to know, and I think a lot of people would love to know, is, okay, great, we want to recruit people into our cause, to find those others, find the people that care about the same things. What happens if you don't have any money? What happens if you're like, hey, I need to do this and I need to build this and I know this is going to be great. But what's that first beginning where you're like, you need that seed fund, you need that initial funding.
You do.
How do you go and ask people to put sweat equity in, or do you, or when do you stop doing it by yourself? When do you take that leap and say this, and how do you present to somebody else a fair value of exchange that feels right to you? And I know this is different to everybody. How do you go about leveling up? Because I'm sure this is in the book in some way. Yep. But yes, I've got a great idea. Yes, I'm filled with passion. Yes, I want to move this forward. How do I get past that not wanting to ask? And then how do I ask? And what do I ask for? And how much? Yeah.
No, there was like 8 questions in there in that. No, but I get it, and to your, you said it yourself. Everybody is different. Like if you are a single parent and you have 3 kids and you're only able to work part-time, and and you're trying to live in Vancouver, it's like, okay, starting a full-blown business may not be for you right now. And I think, that's just reality. And to try and go, oh, well, just start your own business. It's like, it's actually kind of potentially a privileged thing, right?
Yes.
And it all starts with the story. We all have the ability to tell someone, to say, I'm having this idea. And this is honestly what I tell every single person. They think they need to write a business plan. They don't need to write a business plan. They just need to tell another human being what's on their mind.
Yeah,
I told you my story last night.
No,
I'm trying to rope her partner into my next idea.
It doesn't know this yet.
It's okay.
You will. Might be for her to find out.
I'll tell them my story.
This is. She told me a story about she wanted to start a podcast. Yeah,
right.
She.
Yeah,
years ago.
Huh, isn't that funny? Right.
Yeah, it's going to inspire women. We're going to share stories.
Wow, that sounds amazing. You should do that.
150 episodes later.
I sort of don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm still like, what? What? Oh,
because you're not done yet. And but to your point, like just to drill down to your question a bit more, it's like I'm a big believer in kind of, I call them breadcrumbs in the book. It's like, you don't, like, it can seem so daunting. Like, who wants to write a business plan? Oh my God, nobody wants to write a business plan. Most people will never read it. There are business canvases, by the way, out there that are much simpler. But like, make a vision board. Make a video, make a little hack together a slide deck in Canva, or do something creative, even make a painting. Like, it doesn't, write a song, I don't know, but just express the ideas somehow, because ideas have energy.
Yes.
And if you keep them inside and tell yourself a story of, yes, like, I'm not that. And this is a huge thing. Another trait of entrepreneurs is they need to be willing to transform their identities. If you didn't start that way, if your story was, well, I'm just a musician, or I'm just a journalist, or I'm just a whatever, like, but I'm not an entrepreneur, like, I'm not, that's too many vowels for me, or whatever. You're like, you actually need to really rethink that, because it is the classic self-limiting belief. Entrepreneurship can be, I'm a big tent believer in it. Like, I don't think it's this, well, it must be for profit and it has to be, you have to have over 50 employees and you have to do this and you have to do that. I'm like, no, you have to be a person who cares about something, who has an idea, who is taking steps towards it. Like, the word entrepreneur literally means to undertake in French. So what do? You can undertake anything. I can undertake to read a book. I can undertake to tell you about my idea. I can, it's these little baby steps that add up to what matters. But just that persistent, keep going back. If you think it's going to be an easy ride, or you're just going to get on Dragon's Den and then everything's going to be great, and then whatever, and then you're Sandhill Road, and then you're a unicorn, and then you disrupt something, whatever. Like, that's not what it's like, guys. Like, that's not actually, like, most of it's just work. And,
We go to work for more hours than a 9-to-5 person.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
More hours.
But you care about it.
Yeah.
And it gives you energy. Like, look at how much energy you both have. Like, this is feeding you. It's doing something for you, and it's doing something for your audience. It is.
It is.
Yeah. So I think it's those trusting those moments in life when you know, okay, I think, I figured out this thing, and maybe I can just work part-time, or maybe I can whatever, or, or do something, some side hustle thing, or you just take it slowly, but you don't stop.
I have a confession that I do a lot of coaching. I don't like to call it coaching, but it's facilitating sessions with one-on-one sessions with people who are looking to navigate their creative career. Yeah, mostly in music, and often I'll say to people, okay, you tell me that you think you want something, but you've taken no steps towards actually testing if that's true. So a lot of people love the idea of a change, the idea of bringing something new to the table. And what I would love to see, and I've had countless interviews and facilitations and panels where I'm talking to people who've come up and said, I want to do this more than anything. And I'm like, well, okay, do you want to do it more than this thing? Because let's start with that. And if that's true, once you start to take, as you just said, that you go on that trajectory and you keep going, you undertake. A lot of people don't undertake. They don't test their theory of them actually wanting to do it. They have an idea of what an outcome looks like, and then the rest of it is a made-up story. And I think entrepreneurship, I say this in creatorpreneurship as people wanting to be musicians or wanting to level up their professional career. They say they want to do these things, but any of the steps, they haven't even started them. And I think that's something that this book I'm really excited about, because I love that it's for everyday people who want to change the world, because that then allows me to forget the idea of having to know everything, and just helps me to keep taking those steps until I know whether I want to keep doing that, or what I like to say is run towards this goalpost, be really clear about that goalpost, but you can always change the goalpost.
Totally.
Always move them. But don't not run. Don't put the goalpost there and then stand there and say that it looks really far away.
No, I totally agree with you. Entrepreneurs call it pivoting.
Yeah,
right. Like, that's where that comes from. I know. It's kind of it's overused, but it is, to your point. It's like that willingness, like, to work with what is, and as you go along the journey, because it is about the journey. Like, again, I think this defines social entrepreneurs, and why this book is so personal, and why it's not a traditional business book, which is like, okay, step 1. Step 2, raise the money, no, go this and whatever. And it's like, that's not what this is. This is about who you are as a human, fulfilling something that matters to you in your life, and taking at any scale, like any scale. This could be like, I want to build one of those cute book things in my community, and that is my act of social entrepreneurship. It's like, thank you. Yeah, right. Like, we're all hands on deck in this world, and maybe that leads to something else. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But, like, to your point, do something. Michelle Obama, do something.
I think a lot of people, though, they just don't even know where to start. Like, they don't. Maybe they don't have the resources or the access, or, like you said, there's a semblance of privilege with being able to start something and create something on your own when we do live in a very expensive place, and all have to survive. So I think what that brings me to, yes, some people do just have the dream and they're not maybe fulfilling those steps, or maybe it's not that they want it as much as they think they did. But I think some people just truly don't know what foot to put in front,
Which
and
the first step is.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where something like this book goes really, really well. And I think I saw that you have a workbook as well.
I do.
To help guide you through some of the steps. And I think it's, from what I read, maybe a little bit more focused internally, like you said, not on necessarily immediately getting money or something like that, but mining your personal experiences and story.
Mm-hmm. The money part's in there too, by the way.
Is it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's
Don't worry, like it's not gonna not happen. Yeah.
But what I wonder, and I think this is actually an amazing start, if people are looking for mentorship, where would you recommend that they find that? Like if they're like, hey, I have this idea, I want to do this thing. I just need to talk to someone to see, like, first of all, is this viable? Is this even a thing, or is it not? Which I think you should be careful asking people that. But just so they don't shut it down and maybe it is viable. But also, yeah, where do you find people?
Well, I mean, I've found mentors in about 1,000 different places, and I've met mentees in about 1,000 different places. I think it's almost like, I don't think there's a one sort of go-to formula, but this notion of putting yourself out there in whatever way. I do my writing. Like I'll write like ridiculously long essays and post them on Medium and then share them on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden all these people are writing to me and it's like, wow. So I think doing something creative to express your idea, it's like make a really simple video. And like that's what's great about social media is that you literally the world can find you. And it's amazing the power of word of mouth. I mean, they say it's the best form of marketing and it's certainly the best form of getting help. And so tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your neighbors, and because that's a skill, like that's going to matter more than almost anything, how well you do that. Yeah. And say, I am looking for a mentor. It's a form of asking for help. You are articulating something that you need and saying it out loud and telling people and posting it on Instagram and making a TikTok video about it or whatever you're doing. But take that act because it's something that is accessible for most people. Doesn't necessarily cost that much, and it's a really critical exercise.
And the modern manifestation.
Okay, yeah.
It's happened to me multiple times.
You're very good on social media.
Well, thank you. But I also, it's been really pointed. I remember moving here, putting one post up. At the time, it was Facebook, and I said, I feel like I miss being in a band. And that was it. I just put, I miss being in a band. I got a beautiful cellist write to me and say, I will come and be in a band with you. And I was like, I've got no money. I've got nothing, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. I want to play and I like your music. And then I don't know if you know the story, but at a point I was meant to move to New York. And for multiple reasons, it didn't work out, but I worked for this company for 2 years and built some really amazing things. And it was because I posted on Facebook one day saying, I want to live in New York.
Really?
And nothing else.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And someone wrote to me who I'd met at a festival years before that and said, tell me more.
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
See?
And it's happened.
That's amazing.
I mean, and then this one shows up and goes, I want a podcast.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm there.
But you know what? We should make some masks while we're here, when we're talking. It's just like,
I think it's interesting though, because I feel like you both are very good at being very forward on video, being very forward with a written word. Like I know both of you are quite, quite good that way. I think for me, I have a very hard time showing up on social media. Like I
have a terrible time with. Do you? Oh my God,
I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's my jam. But putting it out there is like,
I get like massive anxiety. I don't want to do it. I completely kind of shut down unless it's for not even for bombshells, but like when we're already in we're recording today. Okay, I'm already in an open space, so I can do it. But generally, I have a really hard time. I think for me, it's the small gatherings where I can be open.
Yeah,
the intimate gatherings. So with you, it was like, okay, we're having drinks one-on-one. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is my vision for it. This is what I missed. this is what I want to make. And you're like, okay, well,
Yeah, it's not what I was expecting.
let's see.
Yeah, you weren't, because I was not expecting it. This is very funny.
I love that. I love. To me, relationship is everything is another huge message in the book. And I would be remiss, just to answer your question a little bit more with some more practical tips. The two networks that I'm part of a couple of communities. One of them is called Coralus, and it's based in Canada. It was founded in Toronto, but it's global, and it's a network of women and non-binary entrepreneurs who are social entrepreneurs for sure. And it's like Coral and Us.
Coral Us.
Yep. Coralus. And so they are an amazing, huge network that I love. And the other one is called the Social Venture Institute.
Yes.
So this Find Your People. They've got the conference coming up next month at Hollyhock, and I've gone, I don't even know how many times, and it's the best. It is the best, because once you go to the conference, then you're on their listserv, and there's other events and all this stuff, and they are the business. I love them. And so there's other things in Vancouver, like the Forum, right? Yes. And that's another really popular.
We've played in the Forum.
We have.
Awesome. Very good. So so there are physical and online networks of social entrepreneurs that are out there, and I highly recommend. You don't need to feel like, okay, I've got everything ready now, it's perfect, and now I'm going to go to a meeting. And it's like, no. Like, just go and you'll meet mentors, you meet your business partner, you might meet, I don't know, but like,
light osmosis. Just light osmosis. Just go be around.
Yes, have a nice conversation. I like that. That gives me far less anxiety.
Yes, I think that's a really good point, though. To your point, Raquel, and it's very clear, and we know each other much better now. Yeah, after years of working together, we weren't close at all before starting this. But I am very aware that some people, it takes different people different lengths of time to really trust and be in good conversation and be in good communication with others, to share ideas with others, especially if it's a social venture, especially if it's close to your heart. Especially if it's something that you want to make a big change. But I mean, putting something out there and saying, will you run with me for something that I care so much about, finding the right people. It has to happen. For someone like me, I'm happy for it to be on social media and to find people and people to come and find me. For someone like Raquel, it's brunch dates over time. It's constant connection. And for a lot of people, it's a combination. You're right. Yeah. So knowing that it's not one way.
No. If anything, this book is not it's not formulaic. It's like, honestly, you could jump in at chapter 7 and just go. It doesn't.
I like that.
I'm super right brain person, very intuitive, very creative. And so that, again, that coloring outside the lines idea, and just do it differently. If we want to see true social innovation, we need to do things differently, and we need different people doing those things as well.
So talk about that.
Yes. Why did you find it so important to open the door to more representation, for more female and feminine energy leadership, or more yin yang leadership, more balanced leadership of different varieties? Why was that so important?
Yeah, well,
is it?
Sure. And I've been a feminist since I was probably 17 years old, and so that's kind of my orientation in terms of how I look at the world. But when I sort of started being an entrepreneur, I sort of experienced a bit of cognitive dissonance, because I started in the sort of early mid-90s as the first .com bubble was kind of bubbling up and getting huge, and this whole tech bro iconography and the whole raising and pitching and venture capital and and Sandhill Road and apps and whatever, all this stuff, and it was a bunch of white guys who were doing this, and who didn't necessarily have sound business models, who didn't necessarily have any kind of a social impact agenda. I didn't relate to it at all, but that was sort of okay, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, then this is the kind of person this is. But the people in my world were mostly women, were of all manner of identities and backgrounds and stories, and they were trying to change the world, but they weren't trying to take it over. And I was like, that is what I relate to, and I think it's what the world needs, because when we believe that change only happens because of a certain kind of person, and you got to grow it and scale it, and you got to, whatever, this totally unrealistic, wildly kind of unhelpful business model and ethos that we're seeing kind of explode or implode or whatever it's doing, not helping again and again and again and again. And when we're, we need all hands on deck. It needs to look like everyone, because that's where the new ideas are going to come from. They're going to there's something I talk about in the book called the gifts of the margins. And that is that people with marginalized identities have unique experiences that have not been heard from enough. Therefore, and meanwhile, everybody's like, we got to innovate. We need new ideas. And it's like, where are those ideas going to come from? Yeah. How about the people we haven't heard from yet? Yeah. How about that? And
what a novel idea.
Right. And not force them into the same cookie cutter of like, okay, it's going to be a person of color succeeding, with the next, unicorn or whatever.
It's not performative, you mean?
Yeah, it's this drama to it, right? And and so when I said everyday people, it's kind of code for everybody who is not, cis, straight, white, male kind of person. Because I think that's where the future is going to come from. It's time for pass the mic to everyone else, because we need ideas. We need all hands on deck. And we need as many people as possible doing this who do not feel like, well, I got to have an MBA, or I got to, or have the next big tech idea, or have the next thing. And it's like, nope, we need everybody. We need ideas, big, small, all over the place. There's not just one way to do this. And so the more that we can present an idea of entrepreneurship that is inclusive, the more people are going to feel like, yeah, maybe I will give that a chance. Or yeah, maybe I will tell my friend I'm thinking about this thing. Or maybe like it's those baby steps of people feeling like they can count themselves in and feel included and feel like their ideas matter and that there's potential. And, because so many people have just sat back and gone, I've got this idea, this thing I really love, but I don't think it's scalable.
I think that's
like scale can be so many different ways. Like, why is it always up and to the right? Stop.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. Representation matters. It just does.
It's ideas and stories. And it's like the woman you were just talking to is a perfect example. Oh. It's like that is an amazing story that she has. And that could only come from a Black woman with the story of her history and her family and living in Europe and all these things that she did. And and it's like, okay, like the world has not seen what she is offering because the world didn't believe in people like her. And now she is stepping up and saying, it's my time, because it is her time.
You can't unsee Effie. You can't unsee Effie. Yeah. No. And it's so cute. And I think that is it's a wonderful way to really assert to our listeners and watchers and those audience members and anyone who is thinking about being the change that they want to see and unsure how. Yeah. I think there's such great little gem drops in here of find the others, find them how you want to. Don't worry so much about whether it's the right step. It just needs to be a step.
Yeah, it's just the next step. Exactly.
And we did book club as well. We're talking about, what was it? Find your dead mentors or something? Yeah. Find your dead presidents or something?
It was your dead board of directors.
That's it. When you're looking for guidance, they don't also have to be current existing people. My mum used to say, she said in one of the interviews that the library was her friend. And she was like, sure, my books are my friend. Books were my friend. I really feel that too. But you can find it in a book. You can find it on a forum online. You can find it in, we talked about gaming. We talked about in person. Yeah. But those connections and then also the inner work, really, really digging into that, finding yourself in order to find a true solution and to sustain. It's so important.
Yeah. And I think there's always so many parallels. I think that's the other piece is if you've had a set experience, it is highly likely that there's going to be other people who felt a similar thing and had a similar experience. Like I was just saying to Christina yesterday, I'm like, I have a little boy. He's 15 months. You're transitioning to, feeding food, or it was a while ago. And it's really hard to think about adult meals and kid meals, and is he getting enough of all of his minerals and vitamins, and is it tasty and all this stuff, and you know, they need like meals and snacks, and there's like so many of them, and I was like, I need an app. I need it to be meal prepped. And I just want to know, like, give me my grocery list, give me my recipes, and tell me what to meal prep. I'll make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
And I guarantee that there's a bunch of other people who are having the same issues. We're like, I don't know what to feed my kid. Like,
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And again, put it out there. Tell some.
Read this book.
yeah. So I may not be able to do social media, but I did do the podcast.
Yeah. Holy moly. And you said it out loud. Right?
Said it out loud. That's because I feel like I'm in an intimate conversation.
Well, Madeline, I'm so grateful. This has been such a great, such a great, I love how we can get bite-sized, book-sized, but bite-sized.
Yeah.
Really tactical tips on how to start. What a great entrepreneur, what any entrepreneur could look like.
Yeah.
Which is anything and everything, and just be willing, as Effie said in the last one, be willing to try, you know, and find the others. Is there anything else that you would want people to know in closing? Is there anything else that you would say, this, I leave you with this?
I would say the world needs your ideas. Like, it really does. Like, this isn't just about whether you think you can or not, or whether you're scared or not, or whether you're whatever, you. It's like, come on. And I think, to quote Michelle Obama, I'm going to say it again, do something.
Yeah.
Like, we are in pretty dire circumstances, and not to be scary about it, but it's like, come on, you know, let's go. So
I'd like to say we need us.
yeah, we need us. We need us. It's like, if there's something out there that is you keep wishing someone else would do something about, or that keeps bugging you, or that you're kind of in love with, but you haven't said it out loud, like, it's just take that one step. Take that one step of like putting it, like, what is that thing? And then go and do something about it.
Do something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been so amazing. Where can people find your book?
Oh my goodness. I at thegreatergood.org, or rather greatergood.org, or madelineshaw.ca. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit you'll find me, Madeline Shaw. And where else? I've started using Instagram again. And I'm at Madeline, like as in Madeline. Oh, Madeline.
Yeah, love Raquel, by the way.
Nice. I know, I'm following you.
And I'm Christina Lau.
We're all in the right. I love it. It's so good. And those are all fun. So, and yeah, definitely, but hit me up. I'd love to hear from people.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Definitely take a gander at the book, because it is truly phenomenal. I will definitely be picking it up, and I'll probably pick up the workbook too. Just saying.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for showing up, bombshells. We'd like to thank our brilliant media and production team for their incredible work on each episode. We look so shiny because of them. As for you, my darlings, head to our website, bombshellbrunches.com, to sign up to the mailing list for future events and deals, connect with us on socials, dig into resources, and leave us little love notes. Until next time, stay focused, fierce, and fabulous.
Bye.